here with Shaun from Social Kush and from Kush America, Cavu, you name it. So let's start off with where did you go to school? We'll go into your background, go into some of your jobs, and we'll go from there, what your role is. But do you want to kick things off with kind of what you went to school for, maybe your first job or first couple jobs?
Sure. I'm Shaun Fuller. I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I still live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I majored in computer science there. I actually worked in a research lab developing educational games for middle school students. So we kind of taught computer science concepts through gaming, which was really neat. So I did that for about 3 years. And then after that, I applied to work at Microsoft, and that was my first job out of college. So that was really fun and really working on some big problems. I was a enterprise developer, which essentially meant that I worked on custom software solutions for big clients, like global size clients. So I flew all over the country and met with clients and built custom software for them on top of a Microsoft platform. So that was really fun and lots of learning, lots of traveling. So it was a really cool experience. Got a little burned out after a few years of traveling, every Monday at 6 a.m. being at the airport. And then coming home Thursday at 10 o'clock. So that got tiring, and I really wanted to work on software that impacted small and medium-sized businesses. So I left Microsoft and started my own software company, and just started doing contract work for small and medium-sized organizations and building platforms kind of from the ground up for custom line of business solutions. So that's where I ended up a few years after Microsoft, and ironically, I lived across the hall from Bob Silver, who's the CEO of Cavu, and we got to know each other because we were neighbors, and he pitched me this idea about building an app that could really bring people together from a variety of different niches, and I'd seen things that were similar but obviously weren't fully fleshed out. So we kind of started going through ideas about what an app like that could be, and we landed on the idea for Soku. So then we started, it's just an idea at that point. So in my spare time, I'd work on a prototype and, start iterating on that and getting something together that worked. And then it kind of started snowballing from there. So, that was a few years back, and, we've had fits and starts, but now we're moving along, and it's going really well.
Okay, very impressive background. So you go from building like educational games for comp sci students, which is pretty cool. Obviously, I mean, when you think computer science, you instantly think video games, so it makes sense. That's kind of goes hand in hand. And then you work at Microsoft, which is incredible, and then you leave and start your own business, which is incredible. So awesome, pretty crazy background. And then I guess you get unlucky that Bob lives across from you. And you go on. So, I mean, walk me through maybe the building process. So you said you've been kind of working on it for the past couple of years. I mean, what's involved in that for people like myself who have no idea how to code anything? Do you want to kind of walk through that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So Soku started as an idea of a way to kind of bring people together over a common interest. And the common interest that we originally kind of landed on was recreational marijuana users. And that's a really actually tight-knit community. And, you tend to know the people that people around you, but you don't really connect with others who might not necessarily live right by you or that in person. And so we thought that'd be a really cool community to kind of bring together. And that really started the idea of it. And then we started thinking about, well, if it's a chat application where you can meet people and talk to someone that you don't know, how can we make it fun and engaging? If it's pairing you randomly with someone halfway across the country, what interests do you share? How can we communicate that, you're interested in snowboarding and the other person is interested in cooking? Maybe you don't share that interest, but what if you're both interested in MBA, right? And so we started coming up with ideas of ways to build out your profile and say what you're interested in. And that led us to being able to customize your experience totally. And so in Soku, we have an avatar builder, which is very similar to like Bitmoji, where you can kind of create an avatar that represents you. And we thought it'd be really neat if when you're chatting with someone, it's not just looking like a text message. It's actually your two avatars speaking to one another. So once you build your avatars and you go chat with someone, you see yours and theirs, and they're talking to each other. So it feels a lot more fun and a lot more engaging versus just texting somebody that you don't know.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to touch on it. It's funny. The first feedback I got when I explained to someone kind of what Soku was, is said, "Oh, so it sounds like it's Omegle, like Omegle for people that smoke pot," which is pretty funny, interesting kind of initial reaction. That website's huge. They get over 100,000 users a day,
Right.
Not even more. But I kind of wanted to go into a little bit more details. What's different for people who obviously have never heard of Soku before? Obviously, Omegle, just to give people the insight, if you don't know, it's video match with video, where you put in usually a keyword. Maybe it's I like Fortnite, or I like NBA, like you said, and you match with someone else who has the same interest. And then you see them on a face-to-face chat, but they could live in Norway, they could live in Mexico, you name it. So give me I guess a little bit of the difference that Soku has.
So on Omegle, you're using video chat, right? And so you are completely exposed to the other person, and there's issues with Omegle with that, in that you might pair with someone really creepy or something inappropriate. And in Soku, there's kind of a layer of anonymity. You've got your avatar, and if your avatar looks nothing like you, that's fine. The other person's not going to know. You don't have shared video where you're actually looking at the other person. And then when you're finding people to chat with, we have different filters that you can select before the algorithm finds someone for you. And you can specify, I know in Omegle, you can specify like a topic or something that you're interested in. So you can do that in Soku. You can also specify gender. You can also specify location in terms of distance, like how far someone is from you. So you can meet someone within 5 miles of you, 10 to 25 miles, or it doesn't matter. And then you can also, again, choose your interests. So you can say, match me with someone who has a common interest that I do, or it doesn't matter. So you can filter it down really narrow, or you can keep it really broad. So the people that you get randomly matched with, you have some control over that. And then we also have, going back to Omegle, we also have something that we've built in called a connect timer. And so when you get paired up with somebody and you're chatting with them, you have 60 seconds to connect with them. So you would be chatting with one another and might say, hey, I see you're interested in whatever, and get to talking. And after 1 minute, this timer runs out and it asks if you want to keep talking to this person. And if you don't, then they're kind of kicked out of your chat room, and then it will find you someone else if you want. If you do connect, then the two of you become friends, and you'll show up on each other's friends list, and you can chat at any point after that. But you both have to elect to connect to one another, or else the conversation ends. So it's similar, in Omegle, when you're paired with somebody and you want to say, I don't like this person, disconnect, right? Yeah. So it's like that, but it makes it a little bit more fun, because once you choose to connect, there's an animation that comes up, and it shows you your profile picture and their profile picture, and then you automatically become friends. So it's kind of a fun way to meet someone. If you don't like them after a minute, you can just move on to the next person.
Yeah, no, interesting. And in some people, either they're looking for friends, you name it, it's kind of like the matchmaker kind of side of it afterwards, which is interesting. And yeah, you touched on Omegle. Two things. Yes, there's a lot of weird people on there that are washing plates, to put it bluntly. Or the other one is, you've got people that just don't have the confidence of not wanting to be on video. So It's a great in between. And people are looking to sit there on their phones while they're in bed and just talk to people or do whatever. They're not trying to look pretty and be on camera. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and so Soku kind of takes away that extra presentation layer where you need to feel like you're ready to be on video, and you've got to put yourself together or whatever you need to do to feel comfortable. You don't have to worry about that in Soku, because the most personal that we get visually is your profile image. And again, you can upload whatever you want. So if you want a picture of your dog as your profile photo, that's fine.
Yeah, interesting. No, it's a cool little app. Let's take even half a step back. I'm sure a lot of people can assume what your role is at Soku, but do you want to kind of, say what your role is, what you're looking after on the daily basis?
Sure, yeah. I'm the Chief Development Officer of Cavu Resources. Again, started out as the sole developer of Soku, and as the company evolved, my role evolved there. So I'm, working on the development of Soku right now. We've got some other developers that are also helping. So I'm managing that, getting ready for our 4-hour launch, which hopefully is coming up pretty soon. We're just kind of hammering out some bugs and making sure that the onboarding new user experience is pretty solid. And then we're constantly coming up with ideas of content to add to the avatar builder. You can customize the way that you look to your t-shirts, pants, shoes, accessories, your hairstyles, all that. So it's kind of an endless pipeline for that, right? The more content we have, the better, because that means the more users can customize everything. So I'm kind of focused on kind of the bigger picture of the development of Soku, getting it ready for launch, and then where we go from there. And so we've got an ad system that we want to build into the app, but we want it to be pretty non-intrusive. So we don't want to like pop up an ad in between every chat or have a little bar at the bottom that takes up 12% of the screen height with an ad on there. In Soku, you actually have scenes that are backgrounds that you're hanging out in, and we have spots in those scenes for different ads. So one scene is like a college quad, and we've got some billboards in the background, and those billboards can just have a little ad on them. So they're non-invasive, they're not in your face, but it's a revenue generator for us. So that's kind of the next big project we'll be working on once we get this ready to roll out. So kind of big high-level development stuff is my focus.
Yeah, well, you touched on the launch, and so some questions that I had. So obviously, let's talk about the launch. One thing that I really want to chat about that's important in app success is, what do you think will make kind of Soku a success? And maybe we can chat about this first from obviously the marketing standpoint. You guys have some massive players, some massive, I guess, influencers. Do you want to chat about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So influencers, I think, could be good for us. We have the ability in Soku to link to your social networks. So when you make a connection with someone and they're your friend, when you're looking at their profile, you can look at all of their social media accounts that they link up with Soku. So one of the things that I think is going to be key for us is early adoption, and we're kind of going after a more localized strategy instead of just saying it's available to everyone in the world to download. It will be, but what we really want to target is localized communities. Like, let's say, a college town that has a campus with, 40,000 students. It would be great to get adoption within that local community and to get users that way, and then move on to another one and another one. Because I think there's a lot of benefit in being able to connect with someone who's local to you instead of just a random stranger halfway across the world. That's cool too, but I think you can make more meaningful connections with someone locally. So we definitely want to target localized communities during our rollout. I think that'll be key to early adoption. Another thing that will be key is the ability to customize your avatar and add all kinds of different features and looks, and t-shirts that represent your mood or things that you're into, and stuff like that. So, and we can actually just keep that content pipeline, churning pretty good. Yeah, I think adoption and getting getting the network effect is going to be really important early on. So if you like Soku, recommend it to some of your friends, share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter, share it on your social networks so that people will follow you. And you'll also be able to, share like your avatar on social media with a link directly to your Soku profile. So without someone having to connect with you, you can add them as a friend. So I think influencers could be really helpful for us, because that's another platform they can get people to follow them on.
Yeah, no, it's all awesome. I mean, obviously, chatted with Bob before. You guys have some big players, obviously, behind this that are looking to push it on their socials as well and kind of find users. I love the idea of a college university town. I was even thinking about how Tinder started, and some of those kind of apps, and that's how they started, with colleges, right? and then they slowly
Right.
went from there to people from colleges went back home during the summer, told their friend, everyone, and then boom, everyone's got it. So
Right.
I think it's cool. I think it's kind of perfect timing with some of the lockdown stuff as well. I know
Definitely.
launching is supposed to be happening here pretty soon. I know on some cases it's probably hurting, and on some cases it's like, well, everyone's at home with nothing to do. Maybe they'll use
Right.
this.
Right.
Do you wanna say anything before we kind of close things off?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this is not super important, but just to add to what you were saying about the quarantining, one of the accessories we're going to have is a face mask, so you can put that on your avatar. And yeah, I think there's definitely a desire for some social interaction right now. A lot of people are quarantined at home, even with some states opening back up. People are still wary, and so getting that social connection that we need as humans in a virtual and safe way, I think will be really important, and hopefully we can help facilitate that.
Yeah, I mean, even with lockdown coming off, I mean, what's going to be the new normal? I know here it's patios and still social distancing, still all this other stuff. It's not back to normal where everyone's back doing things. So, no, I think this was great. I think it was great meeting you. Last chance, anything you want to say before we close things up?
Yeah, I would just say that we've been working on Soku for a few years now, and we're finally there in the home stretch, and we're really excited to get it launched and to see it grow and learn from our users and make it as good as we possibly can. Because Soku is not the only app that we have in our pipeline. Soku is kind of the first major thing that we want to release on the technology side of our company. But there's also a really good market for medical apps that track medicinal use of marijuana, and that is legal in a lot more states than recreational. And so the success of Soku kind of gives us a foundation for a platform for other applications that we can build on top of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited for Soku, and we're excited for what comes after that as well.
I have a final question for you.
Sure.
What if, let's say I'm not a huge marijuana user myself. I don't really, I see social kush. I'm like, it's not something I would ever download or use. What's kind of your response to people that, might not have any interest in cannabis?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I thought about that earlier. So we've actually danced around the idea of rebranding it as SoCha, which is social chat instead of social kush, because when you build out your profile and you select your interests and you find people that are interested in the same thing as you, your interest might not be marijuana, right? You might both be interested in software development or in politics or in MBA. So it's really not just focused on the marijuana aspect. There's not a whole lot of references within the app to that. And there's kind of tongue-in-cheek stuff like in the scenes that you're hanging out in. Like one of the scenes is a living room, and so there's like a little bowl pipe on the table, right? But your shared interests don't have to be just marijuana. And so I think my response to that would be there's so many more deep connections that you can make that don't necessarily have to be centered around marijuana, which is partly why Kush is not in the name, even though it's called Social Kush or Soku. We call it a chill app. Our slogan is Chat, Connect, Chill. And so we're hoping not to turn people off because it's marijuana specific. And again, that goes back to people recommending it to their friends, right? If someone uses it and they really like it, they don't only have to recommend it to their friends who are interested in marijuana. They can recommend it to anyone.